Good evening. My name is Gail Katzman. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm going to be presenting a business concept for Worker-Belle, which is a new apparel brand designed for the bodies, careers, and lifestyles of professional women, as the slide says. I'm a structural engineer by background, but most of my family worked in fashion and retail. So I may be the only person who sees a connection between engineering and fashion design, but I really do. About that. So I wanted to start by talking about the power of women. Women hold a lot of power, in particular economic power. You may not realize, but 50% of higher education degrees and professional and managerial jobs are held by women already. So you can imagine those women hold a lot of economic power in the economy. And since women tend to make the majority of purchasing decisions for themselves and their families, they control 80% of the consumer economy, which equates to approximately $40 trillion in economic value. And you can imagine that professional women are on the higher end of that economic value. Sorry. So I estimate there are 30 million professional women in the US, which translates to roughly a $30 billion annual market for women's professional apparel. And with this business, I'm really trying to tap into that market. So Worker-Belle will focus on three main areas, which are branding, fit, and delivery. I'll spend most of my time in this presentation talking about fit. That's really the area that is, I think, most unique to the brand and most developed at this stage. I'm still a pretty early stage startup, but I do recognize that the other areas are very important to the business. So as I said, I'm a structural engineer, and I see a connection between engineering and fashion design. I was trained as an engineer, and in order to design a structure, we always start by understanding the forces on the structure. So if you look at a long span, like a bridge, you'd have to understand the forces. The governing force is that bending moment there. And what we learned in engineering school is the most beautiful and intuitive designs actually take the shape of the main force on the structure, which is the bending moment. And they're the most visually appealing designs and the most efficient designs. So you may not understand structural engineering, but hopefully you can appreciate the awesomeness of that very slim arch bridge carrying the entire load of the long span. So how can we apply this to fashion design? Well, if we want to design clothes for women, we have to start by understanding the underlying shape that we're designing for. And women are not one size fits all. They have a variety of body shapes. Shown here, the 5 main shapes. So retailers today tend to design for the rectangular shape in the middle, which is actually the most common. So if you're going to design for only one shape, it does make sense to design for the most common shape. But in reality, retailers are really only reaching less than 50% of the women. So Worker-Belle will attempt to reach more women by understanding the body shapes of more women and having offerings for all of them. So to dig a little deeper, the woman on the left has a body shape I would consider to be like an A shape or a downward triangle, which means she has narrow shoulders and broad hips. Sorry, I'm struggling with this microphone a little. So once we understand the shape, we would design some clothes that are flattering and fit her properly, which would be a narrow waist and wider to cover the hips. Similarly, for the woman on the right, who is more of a long and straight shape, we would start by understanding that shape and designing clothing that is the right shape, it's flattering, and it fits. It's intuitive, visually appealing, and an efficient use of materials, just like the structure. So I can see I'm running low on time. I'm just going to show how we would approach this at Worker-Belle. We would understand all the main body shapes, not just the main shape, and design apparel items for each of them. So to go over that like downward triangular or A shape on the left, we would design a top that is more fitted at the top, the shoulders where the woman is more narrow, and full and wide at the skirt where she has wider hips. And one more slide on this. The the display and selection or the shopping experience, whether it's in-store or online, we would show all the major body shapes right next to each other, all equally valued, all beautiful, options for all customers that come our way to meet the needs of the professional woman who has this amazing economic power that we want to tap into. So moving on, the next thing I'll talk about is branding. So for an apparel brand targeting professional women, the branding has to be feminine and professional. That is not a contradiction. It may be difficult to achieve right now, but that is something we will aim for. So we'll try to create a new apparel approach by marrying professional looks and materials with feminine shapes and styles to build out a career wardrobe for professional women. Lastly, I'll talk about delivery, and by this I really mean shopping experiences or how women make the purchases. So Worker-Belle will be catering to the busy, multi-minded lives of professional women, and we'll use all shopping channels available to us, all retail relationships that we can explore. Ultimately, we expect most purchases to be made through the website, but we'll use in-store displays and direct marketing to increase brand awareness and just create more exposure to the brand. So lastly, I wanted to fit in a little bit of marketing context. On the left are 3 brands, big brands that were synonymous with women's workwear for many years, roughly billion-dollar brands, Ann Taylor, Jones New York, and Liz Claiborne, that have all really struggled in the past 10 years. Really, they weren't keeping up with the branding, fit, and delivery, and meeting the needs of professional women. On the right, we've got 3 brands that are relatively recent startups, whether they're custom-made clothing options or more professionally oriented branding or personal curated shopping services. They're all tapping into the same issues of professional women whose needs are not really being understood or met by a lot of consumer goods out there. So that's the presentation. Let me say, I'm an early phase startup. I have developed a website to start to create an online community of professional women. I'm also having some sample garments made. That's the stage that I'm in. I'm looking for help with these things, website design, graphic design. I'd love for you to visit the website and join the community. Thank you. Any questions? Questions? Yes. We can definitely help women understand that. I think a lot of women do have a good sense of what shape their body is when they try on clothes and they never fit in the hips, but they always big in the shoulders. But we can certainly help women understand what shape they are and what clothes look best on them. Thanks. Yes.
You're limiting to just women. Is there any particular reason? Because, I mean, I'm a guy, and but I have an unusual body shape. I'm very, very small. So my clothes I generally can't buy off the rack.
Okay.
So, I mean, if this service existed for a guy, I'd be interested.
That's great to hear. I think we could certainly expand to menswear, starting with women, because I think there's been a lot of disruption in women's professional wear, maybe men's professional wear also, but there's really been a problem with fit over the years. There's really been a lack of understanding of how women's lives have changed so much over the past couple of generations. So I think there's really a special need for women's professional wear, but there may be an opportunity for menswear too.
Fair enough.
How are you going to deal with people who are walking into Macy's trying to find out something that they want to wear? Like, for example, I probably went in and cruised around the whole floor and found nothing.
Yes.
So what about those kind of women? And how would you, when you are, let's say you sign up with Macy's,
Yes.
how this going to work with the actual customers?
Well, I did show one slide on the displays, which was, how I'm starting to think through how we'll present the information both in store and online. And I do think I think it's important to show the items side by side, kind of all equally valued, not judging one as better or more popular than the other. But I guess that's how I'm starting to think about it. And but yeah, that's important. Women need to find the clothes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.